get a little payback against the team that knocked him out of the playoffs to cap the 2022 season. The man who had that call and has had many of great calls over the years for the Minnesota Vikings radio network. He is Paul Allen. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Mark. I'm sorry, Mike.
Thank you.
I'm Paul Allen, not Kyle Allen. So,
Paul. Yeah.
very good morning to you.
You should have been named Kyle. I think that's what I'm saying. Your parents should have gone with Kyle.
If you'd called me Josh, then it'd be like the one that plays tonight or the stud defensive player. But I am Paul Allen, and you are Mike Florio.
The Josh Allen with the Jaguars is now Josh Hines Allen, I believe. So
how do you know
Josh
my middle
Allen,
name's not Hines? Yeah,
well, it could be. All right, so a lot of Vikings fans are excited given the performance of the team week one. As you know, I am one to pump the brakes, especially when we don't know how bad the Giants might be. We just don't know. I think it's safe to say they're not good, so it's good the Vikings won, but that doesn't mean all of a sudden it's, I don't know what you're calling it. You've always got a little name, Mission Miami, right? I don't know what you're doing for New Orleans, Navigation New
Mission
Orleans.
Mardi Gras.
I don't know. Okay, there you go. So what's your real assessment? Set aside the purple-colored glasses. What's your real assessment of the team after 1 week?
Well, it's the same as it was into the first week. I just feel with all the years that I've done it, I kind of know what a playoff team looks and feels like, and that's this team. That's what I said into the first game. I'm not gonna grandstand and be a purple and gold cartoon character. Saying that we're going to beat Detroit and win the division.
Why stop now? Why stop now? Why stop now?
Well, because this is big time journalistic PFT. But with Darnold from the minute he got here, the key for me watching from afar is Sam somebody who follows the plan. Because the plan is very good. O'Connell's passing game and offensive plan is very, very good. So with Sam, once I realized, like, just go back to last year for a second with the 4-quarterback trick. Okay, Cousins is going lights out. Then we have the Achilles. Then you get Dobbs and Hall, and it doesn't look right. Then Mullins comes in, and granted, there were some turnovers that would lose games, but the offense looked like the O'Connell offense because he followed the plan. That's what Darnold does. He follows the plan. He was not fidgety when the pocket would collapse on him. Dexter Lawrence was unblockable early in the game, but that's when I say the O'Connell production's high end. The plan for Lawrence got better as the game went on. Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau both allegedly ballyhooed. They finished the game with one combined tackle. Kayvon had 0. So the tackles played great, and Darnold followed the plan. Jones brings a burst that they didn't have last year, and Jefferson's playing. So this I firmly believe is a playoff team. That was business as usual at MetLife Stadium.
The Darnold story is fascinating to me because it's entirely possible he was ruined by the Jets. Wouldn't be the first quarterback who's been ruined by that franchise. Went to Carolina, which has become a hot mess in recent years. Last year, didn't play in any meaningful games for the 49ers. And he's a guy that Kyle Shanahan has always loved. Kevin O'Connell presumably had a high degree of admiration for him. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made a beeline for Darnold the moment that Kirk Cousins left for the Falcons. And that's what it's all about. When you have a superior play designer and play caller, you just need somebody who runs the play that cracks the code on the defense. You don't need Patrick Mahomes to run around with his hair on fire trying to make magic happen. The play that's called is more likely than not to work. And if it's not working, find a way to live to see another play.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fair to lay it out the way you and others have laid it out. I mean, the Giants production, with respect, what we just saw, I mean, it was rough. And there were moments in that game, like, for instance, their punt and kick returner is really, really good. He came into the game with an injury designation. They're working him out before the game, and boom, I think he hurt a groin, so they had to play a player short. So things like that were happening to them during the course of the day. So I understand the nature of the adversary, but the Vikings were a 7-win team last year with an over under of around 6.5 or 7.5 on the wins total. So they're not being taken real seriously. There's way too much talent and speed on this team to not be taken seriously. And the highlight that you showed with Andrew Van Ginkel, that indeed is his fourth touchdown, second interception return. And when you watch back some of his plays when he played with Miami, and then now seeing him in training camp and last week, I'm not going to compare him to Antoine Winfield when it comes to being a scholar of the game, because I mean, Antoine's the greatest corner in the history of this team, and the way he diagnosed plays with the tricks and the tells and stuff like that, it's nobody's ever seen it. Van Ginkel's like that. I mean, he's just so far ahead of the curve with what's coming. Now, you have Jonathan Grenard, Dallas Turner, Blake Cashman played his tail off in that game. The safety room is really, really deep. So this is a team that's going to sneak up on some teams, including the Niners this weekend, and open some eyes.
Well, and we saw it last year in that Monday night game, the last time Kirk Cousins played for the Vikings, the stellar performance against the 49ers, the upset win, the game that kind of brought the Vikings back into the conversation after the very rough start to the 2023 season. I can't imagine the 49ers walking into that trap in Minnesota 2 straight years. You really, and I know, purple colored glasses, and the spread's only 5.5. It just seems the 49ers team I saw Monday night looked pretty damn good without Christian McCaffrey. It's hard to see them losing in Minnesota, a Super Bowl team last year, a potential Super Bowl team this year, losing there again in less than a year.
I'm not offended by the point spread. A 5.5-point favorite on the road is a massive favorite, especially off a team that just blew somebody out and held a National Football League team to 0 touchdowns. So I respect that. I got a lot of respect for the 49ers. You're right. Certainly not speaking for Kyle Shanahan, but from what I've heard is he wasn't happy that he lost Sam Darnold. There are those there who really, really like what Sam brought to Brock Purdy and brought to the quarterback room. All right, well, how much does Sam know with what the 49ers want to throw at O'Connell in a game like this? Now, the 49ers, and you know this as well as anybody, they're traveling on a short week, and that generally can go the opposite way of what people think, specifically when you're changing time zones. Now, the 49ers have not beaten the Vikings in Minnesota since 1992. And I understand that every single team is different, but the one from last year compared to the one from this year, it's different, but it still has the same play caller. It still has the same defensive coordinator in Brian Flores, who, by the way, only blitzed 11 times in that game against the Giants. So he was blitzing not necessarily the way he did last year, but once he knew the team was home and cooled out, he pulled way back on showing some things. So I just have a feeling the Vikings have some things coming this weekend that the 49ers are going to have to adjust to, likewise, vice versa. But last year in that Monday Night Football game, Mike, O'Connell and the Vikings were able to pull Shanahan out of his running game. And it's cliche to say you have to get off to a fast start. All right, everybody wants to get off to a fast start. In this game, if you can grab the lead on them and hold it for a little while and pull him out of his running game, you're in fine fettle if you can do that.
And you make a great point about the short week on the road. When you have a guy like Brandon Ayuk who hadn't been practicing until right before the start of the season, Trent Williams held out until just before the start of the season, Jordan Mason, if he has to go in place of Christian McCaffrey, and who knows what his status really is, they did a great job of keeping it hidden last week. But Mason had 28 carries, short week. I mean, he said after the game that he told Christian McCaffrey, I don't know how you do it, as it was all unfolding. It's a pounding, and it's a lot to recover from after that game, and they mashed the Jets. That's the concern. As badly as the Vikings beat up one team from New York, the 49ers completely manhandled and embarrassed, at least from a pushing and shoving and physicality standpoint up front, the other team from New York. And that's what's hard to forget when you watch that game on Monday night. They had their way with the Jets. What's going to be different with the Vikings defense when they're trying to avoid getting shoved around by the 49ers offensive line.
And thus they're 5.5-point favorites, and I think it opened at 6 or 6.5. So again, that is a massive, massive point spread favorite when you're on the road against a team that is 1-0 that just held somebody to no touchdowns. So I respect that and understand that. When the Vikings beat the 49ers last year on Monday Night Football, granted, Justin Jefferson didn't play, but either did Trent Williams or Deebo Samuel. That's key. My level of respect for Deebo Samuel is incredibly high. I can argue that he is as, if not more important to the 49ers offense than Christian McCaffrey because you can move him all over the place. He's a mean run blocker down the field like Juwan Jennings is. Ayuk, when he's engaged, he's also super good in the run blocking game. That's why it's so key to score early and get in front of these guys and pull them out of the run like you did last year on Monday Night Football. It changed the whole game. And then, Brock Purdy got hit by Jordan Hicks, and that kind of threw Brock off a little bit in the game too. So we're certainly not guaranteeing that that's going to happen. But this Vikings team is better than people think. I'm not going to say it's a 12, 13, 14, 15 win team. But like I said, over my years, I know what a playoff team looks and feels like. And this is one if it stays healthy.
Yeah, that Brock Purdy concussion, he was trying to go over the pile, I think, and Hicks came in hot and really popped him, and he was different after that on that Monday night game. How much are the Vikings embracing this whole everybody thinks we stink, fourth place in the division? I've seen people say, get ready for the Vikings to have the first overall pick in the draft. Are they rallying around this idea that they're widely disrespected?
Well, that's a strange situation, as I've learned over the years. It's kind of a talk out of both sides of your mouth equation, where when teams are underrated, like you're talking about, and they're not being talked about a lot, not a lot of headlines, despite what I think are some wonderful free agency moves and draft picks, specifically in the first round. Well, they get offended they're not talked about. But then when they're the target at which to shoot, and they're coming off 12 and 13 win years, and everybody is hyping them up and pumping them up, well, coaches get offended at that too. So it's kind of a pick your poison situation. They're coming off 7 wins, and at the end of the season it got ugly, man. I mean, when some of the defensive players played too many snaps, and they had some injuries at the end of the year, and they got embarrassed. I mean, in their last home game against the Green Bay Packers, it was ridiculous. So they remember that too. But there still is a lot of new here. What I was really happy to see in the Giants game is how Christian Darrisaw played. He just got that massive contract extension. I love Christian. He's a wonderful, wonderful guy. But, you just never know which way things are going to go when people get paid. And Christian's never played better. I mean, the work he did on Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau he shut him out. That has to be the case again against Nick Bosa. Now you're going against Dexter Lawrence, and he deflects a pass, leads to an interception, gets a sack. I mean, he's high end. Hargrave can be high end too with Fred Warner behind him. This is an unbelievable test, no doubt about it. But they're on a short week with travel. They're sweating the McCaffrey situation like we are, like the Vikings are sweating the Addison situation. And like I said, the Vikings may not win this game, but what you're going to see Sunday noon cornfields is going to be a better overall Vikings team than a majority of football fans thought into the season.
They got a tough stretch coming up, too. It's the Texans after that. It's the Packers in Green Bay after that. They might not have Jordan Love, which would make it a little easier, but that 1-0 could quickly become 2-2 or 1-3. And if you can steal another one and get to 2-0, who knows? Who knows? That's why they play the games. That's why they're fun to watch. Who knows what they're going to do? But I'll agree with you. I think the Vikings generally are more competitive than where they've been pegged. It was just very hard before the season when you consider how good that division is to put them any higher than 4th because of the Packers, because of the Lions, and because of what we thought the Bears were going to be. Maybe the Bears aren't who we thought they were. They aren't who we thought they were. But who knows? But isn't it better to go into a season with no expectations? That's always better.
I don't care about
naturally go in with no expectations. But I think it helps them, and it surprises people, and teams take you lightly, and the next thing you know, you've kicked their butts.
But see, you're saying, the Bears are who we thought they were, but I'm not going to let them off the hook. Because the Vikings, with the talent and speed they have, and the coaching staff that they have, you can add Caleb Williams, and he'll play better this week, and you can add Allen and Odunze and DeAndre Swift and the whole thing, but that all has to work. Okay, so the Vikings with O'Connell and Jefferson and Darisaw and Harrison Phillips and Harrison Smith and so on, they've shown it can work. Think about it. With that 4 quarterback thing last year, to win 7 games and to really have it come down to 3 to 6 plays in a couple of the games where they could have won 9 or 10, that was unbelievable how competitive O'Connell kept them last year, despite the Dobbs trick had an expiration date. We got Jefferson going to the hospital. Jaron Hall got himself hurt, but he was a rookie in the first place. It's not easy for these rookie quarterbacks to jump in here, man, and just be who they're supposed to be out of the gate. Look at Williams got the money, okay, because of that block punt touchdown. But with Nix and Daniels, there were 0 touchdown passes thrown week 1 by rookie quarterbacks because it's hard. Darnold has seen it before. Now, he may have failed to a certain extent with the Jets in Carolina, but O'Connell, Jefferson, and Aaron Jones, that ain't Carolina and the Jets, and they really know how to run offense here. So this is going to be a good one this weekend. I think it's going to be tightly contested. Deebo Samuel concerns me. I know Coach O'Connell has a lot of respect for Deebo, but the Vikings have some nuance to them, Mike, that just people, they wouldn't know unless they follow it on a daily basis. The new left guard, Blake Brandel. I mean, I'm not going to say it was Steve Hutchinson or Randall McDaniel, but he played his tail off. He was unbelievably good against Dexter Lawrence after some problems early. And then Harrison Phillips, wonderful run-stopping nose tackle. He just got himself a new 2-year deal. So there are some under-the-radar players here who are going to help this team win a lot of games.
Paul, we got you all juiced up, and you still got 2 games to go until things get started. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.